Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and today I have got a ladder game. It is a cool one, it is between two awesome players and it is a PvZ on Akalon Wastes. So without further ado, let's introduce these two players. In the top left position, from Root Gaming, the red Protoss player, it's puCK. And his opponent down in the bottom right, the blue Zerg from Evil Geniuses, it's Stephano. So, these two are pretty fly. They're both Grandmasters players. Akalon Waste is a fun map. It's a bit more macro orientated. There's the option for a Protoss player to go for lots of different builds. Could it be a Stargate opening to utilise all of this dead space round the main? Could it be just a quick third, a little bit of Zealot, Stalker, Mothership Core harassment in order to secure it? We'll wait to see, but it's all very, very exciting. Stephano, could he go for some kind of two-base roach aggression? Because obviously there is a very large ramp here, which can be easily exploited for your own devilish means to try and end the game quickly. I don't know, you don't know, but what I do know is that I'm excited to see what plays out. So the probe coming in, just getting a little bit of a scout off here. We should see a pull into hatch from Stephano. Going hatch first is incredibly risky because you will get cannon rushed and you will die most of the time, and especially in a best of one. There's no advantage to taking that risk. The reward from getting a hatch first does not compensate for the risk of getting cannon rushed. It's pretty safe to say. So I do not recommend going hatch first ever. Stephano though is going spawning pool first, which is exceptionally brilliant and makes me very excited because it just means that we should be going into a bit more of a standard game. Now of course, I've got some exciting news. Actually, I have lots of exciting news, but I have one bit of exciting news that I can actually reveal, which is really good, because I always like revealing exciting news, and that is my YouTube channel, which has been going since January 2012, has very closely reached, or is getting very close to reaching, the legendary 1,000 videos on it. Yes, 1,000 StarCraft casts I've done on this YouTube channel, and yeah, I'm going to do something cool for it, but I don't know what cool thing I should do yet. So what I reckon you should do is leave me a comment below telling me what awesome, spectacular idea you have for me for my 1,000th video, because that's always going to be exciting. It's going to be good times. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be very, very cool, and I can't wait. So yeah, let me know. Now, in terms of strategy of these two, well, it was Nexus first, into a Forge, into a Gateway. The wall-off's nearly complete. Stephano got a grand total of 2 Zerglings, because 2 Zerglings means one can go run around and check for pylons, the other one can run around and check for pylons the other way. Or they can both go in pairs, because nobody wants to go alone. You just want to go there. If Zerglings had hands, they'd be holding them right now, and they'd be like... they'd be singing a nice little song. Unfortunately, this one thinks he's far too cool for school. He's going to go and just check up here and be like, Watchtower all the way home. Meanwhile, the Nexus, just finishing up. We've got the Overlord there being like, okay, Nexus, Cannon, Gateway, everything going to plan. Second gas just being taken now by puCK, so nothing too exciting, nothing too extraordinary yet. But there's still time. We're only 4 minutes 35 into this game, and that means that lots of options and lots of time for things to go pretty bonkers. So we'll wait patiently and preemptively try and assume what these two could be going for. I really want to think, I really hope puCK goes for a Stargate, because I love Stargates on this map. Just look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, just look. This is dead space. A huge amount of dead space. Just like, yep, I can come in here with Phoenix, with an Oracle, anything, and just kill. Kill the drones. Let them die to your laser beams of doom. But ultimately, it's really fun to see, and it can work really effectively. There's also, look, as my game freezes, there's some more dead space up here. Look at this. Dead space, all areas you can run in and come and harass everywhere. So do it. Get a Stargate. Alternatively, try and secure a third base quickly. You can easily do that on this map. You put a double Gateway wall off here. You knock down these rocks and you're just like, herped up, I've got 3 Nexus. And do you know what a Protoss player can do with 3 bases early on? Everything. Literally everything you could ever hope for. They can make unicorns the puCK rainbows off of 3 bases. That is how good 3 base Protoss is, and it's always good times. And I don't know where that analogy came from. It just popped into my head. I'm in a bit of a weird mood. I apologize. Nobody wants to think of unicorns puking rainbows. Well, maybe they do, but it's a bit of a strange thing to think of. Why did that even come into my head? I don't know. But guess what? Has a Stargate. Oh, puCK, you've made me so happy. You get a nice little zoom in on this. You can have the little, like, look around it, be like, here's a Stargate from the left, from the center, from the right, just, what do you think? Isn't it a pretty Stargate? Not yet, but it will be a very pretty Stargate. And is it going to make Phoenix or Oracles? I don't know, but it could be both. Meanwhile, some Spine Crawlers coming down. I love this positioning of the Spine Crawlers as well. This is really smart, actually, by Stephano. Like, a really good move, because these can defend your natural and your third. I'm surprised we don't see more Zerg players doing this, because actually this is just such a solid place to put it. It'll help hold off so much early aggression. Apart from Stargate pressure, because you know what comes out of a Stargate? Air unit. A Void Ray is going to be coming out, and that means the Spy Crawlers can't hit air, which is unfortunate. Interesting, a Void Ray is the unit of choice, though. It's really much more defensive getting that Void Ray out. You can go Overlord hunting, and there are a couple of them dotted around the map, but generally speaking, they're not stupidly high on harassment potential. But what they are really good at is getting you into the mid and late games, getting a good Void Ray count. Suddenly you start shredding through everything. You're like, Corruptors? No, I'm just going to melt them. I'm going to hit Prismatic Alignment, and they are going to die near instantly. And that's all good times. These Spine Crawler walls really starting to build up here. Stephano, what have you got planned? Well, you've got your hatchery coming down. You've got 6 gas up. I think he's going to be going for a Spire. Boy, George, I do. He's going to be going for a Spire. That's why you get all these spines down, because you're like, I'm not investing in any ground tech. As you can see, you can only make Zerglings, so I've got to make sure that you can't just kill me with a couple of units. So this is really, really smart by Stephano. Muta plays really solid on this map. We've got an Immortal coming out. The Void Rays are going to be terrible against Mutalisks, because they don't do bonus damage to them because they're not armored, and generally Mutas are really, really strong against them. So this play by Stephano, really nice. The hallucinated Phoenix, clearly being hallucinated, sees the gas, sees the hatchery, but doesn't really get any key information. Doesn't see on the back here, so he doesn't know if there's any tech hidden. Doesn't see any tech around the front, but of course, does just see that... No, he doesn't even see that anything around the back at this position either, so he just knows the lair's coming out. And it's not an unusual time for the lair. We have the Infestation Pit now, as well as the missile attack, so have I been completely wrong? It's not going to be Mutas, it's going to be Swarm Hosts. Ooh. And I even admitted I was completely wrong. And that's caster mistake, like, #1 in the caster rulebook. Is you never, ever, ever say it's gonna be something, and then when it's not that, say that you're wrong. You go, oh, well, this is an interesting variation of the build of what I was expecting, and it's because of blah, blah, blah. And you rationalize why what you said earlier wasn't just a mistake. But what isn't a mistake are these Void Rays demolishing this hatchery, forcing a cancel and being like, hey, you're staying on 3 bases, but the Zergling coming in is going to see puCK is only on 2, and that's good news, apart from the fact that units are coming over. Will the Swarm Host be out in time? They're going to take another 30 seconds. Oh, this is going to be close to Spine Crawlers. More coming down, more queens here, spores, everything just racking up, and like, okay, we can do this now, we can do this, guys, we can do this, we're going to poke them to death. You ready for poking? Spores ready to take out those Void Rays. Queens do really well against Void Rays as well, because they're not armoured, and they've got good anti-air damage, so a really nice choice. The Swarm Hosts are getting so close, pushing forward, oh, a couple of good force fields, those Queens just melting to that amount of damage output, but the Spines are still too many, and now the Swarm Hosts are here. This is good, the Swarm Hosts burrow. Good Swarm Hosts, and now start spewing your Locusts all over this battlefield. Out come the Locusts, they're coming up to these Immortals. The Immortals do need to be careful. They're going to take some damage. Hardened Shield is not very good against so many free units that shoot and DPS their way down everything. And of course, every unit you kill with a Locust is a free unit, because Locusts cost you nothing. This is now a bit of a dangerous situation, because as we can see, only a single observer desperately trying to make its way across the mapping, like, I need to kill these Swarm Hosts. The rocks at the back are going to get taken out. Nice little move here. This is a smart thing for puCK to do. Stephano is aware of it though, and he's pulling all of these spores back. He's moving his Swarm Hosts, but in come these Zealots. Force field actually benefiting Stephano here, I'd argue, because the Locusts are now given time to get out. More force fields coming down, but there's a small gap. Some Locusts starting to peel their way through. Enduring Locust is not yet done, and it looks like puCK is going to try and curl his way up into the main base, and is going to be very successful in doing so. Unfortunately, he's only got this one proxy pile on the warp gate. The warp prism not come back over yet. The hive could get focused down. The mothership core does have enough energy for a mass recall, which is what makes this strategy viable, because now puCK can just demolish this main base and then mass recall out, taking very little losses, but delaying hive tech for a stupid amount of time. So this is ace right now. We've also got the Spine Crawlers cancelling. We've destroyed a base. A couple of Overlords are also going to die, which is never a bad thing. And now, just imminently, we will see that the mass recall will go down. puCK also taking down the 3rd base. This is going to knock Stephano down to just a single mining base. This is such a good play. The spawning pool even going down, and the spawning pool wasn't remade yet, so that's going to delay any tech. Really, all Stephano can make at the moment is just Swarm Host. The Transfuse getting out just in time. Stephano is aware that he has to keep this up. A couple of Locusts coming in, but there goes the mass recall. The Void Rays just busy working away at some more Overlords. But yeah, if Stephano hadn't transfused this hatchery and it had fallen, it would have been lights out, because he's got one mining base. That's not fun for him. But the one plus side for Stephano is he has 18 Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts become highly effective the more of them you get out, and with only a single Colossus to deal with those Locusts at the moment, puCK really isn't a good situation to defend. And puCK himself is only on 2 bases. Meanwhile, these Void Rays doing some nice damage. Of course, Swarm Hosts can't shoot up, and neither can the Locusts. They spawn, but a couple more Queens on their way. We've got some more Spore Crawlers on their way down just to try and defend some of this. But as we can see, the Overlord's taking actually quite a lot of damage, and Overlords are armored, so they take bonus damage from Void Rays. And this just means that Stephano is having to replace all of them. He's taking an awful lot of losses. In terms of the resources lost, Stephano losing just under double that of his opponent. But he can be so cost effective with Swarm Host. He's just being very defensive for the time being, bringing these Queens up. He desperately wants to deal with these Void Rays and get them out of the picture, because they're being so frustrating. They're just picking away at everything, trying to delay things as best they can. Prismatic Alignment has been triggered, and it does outdamage building hatchery, so that's why it's being forced to cancel. For the Queens now coming in off creep, though they're way too slow to defend this. Stephano trying to take more expansions, but there's no way his Queens are going to be able to get down here in time to prevent it getting cancelled yet again. More Swarm Hosts coming out, and I can't help but feel that Stephano desperately needs to be trying to put some pressure on his opponent, because currently these Swarm Hosts aren't doing anything. They're just sitting here, the Locusts casually just straying around. puCK securing his 3rd base. It's already a quarter done. He's getting himself into a very nice mid-game position. The worker count is in puCK's favour as well, 64 to 53, but Stephano is oversaturated the 2 bases he does have for the time being, so needs to get these additional bases up very quickly, because otherwise he's going to be running into some problems. With so many minerals here and just so many Swarm Hosts, he wouldn't actually be a bad choice in my decision, or in my opinion, for Stephano to try and expand up here as well, trying to just spread out so the Void Rays can't be too much of a pain. Some good transfuses are going down. The Void Rays trying to engage head on, which is always a dangerous move. Creep spreading up into the main just to give some more movement through, but here comes the potential death push. puCK maxed out. Stephano only at 130 supply, and he's going to have to do so much with these Locusts. They are going to have to be able to defend incredibly. There is 2 observers, one with the army, one back in the main just spawning, but with so many Colossi, we can see that these Locusts do take a lot of damage, but they are able to get a couple of shots off first, whittling down the gateway forces. More Prism there, allowing for some more warp-ins. Some Vipers coming down, because Abducts are going to be essential for these Colossi. If you can abduct into it, then it will be fine, but only a single Viper out at the moment. Stephano just doesn't have the income to support much more. He doesn't have the Hive either, so now he is just being forced to pull back. The Hive is only just redone, so that's why the Viper count is so low. And now, as we can see, just more pushing coming in. The Locust trying to get in a good position. Good Abduct goes down, gets one of these Colossi quite quickly, and Stephano is going to be able to hold on for the time being, and he's also getting very close to securing up a 3rd base yet again. But puCK already on 3 bases, and that's where the problem comes, because if you've got 3 bases as a Protoss player against 3 bases of a Zerg, which could very well become 2 with these Void Rays, it just means that your economic advantage is massive. If you've got better income, you've got better upgrades nearly as well, then to be honest, you're not going to have too much of a party. The one thing the puCK is slacking on slightly is the upgrades, but that's because his Twilight Council isn't completed yet, and he needs that to start the 2-2. So hopefully we'll see that coming out soon. Meanwhile, 3-3 upgrades already coming down for Stephano. That's allowing these Locusts to be so effective. More Spine Crawlers on their way. But Stephano just being so passive all through this game. We've got a massive warp in of Zealots. This hatchery is going to take quite a lot of fire. Spine Crawlers are trying to come down. The Locusts desperate to scuttle the way across to try and defend this. Meanwhile, the 3rd base taking quite a lot of damage from these Void Rays. Only 3 there. Prismatic Alignment has been activated. The Zealots are getting cleaned up, but this 3rd gets transfused just in time. Stephano knows he needs to keep it up. The Zealots have been cleaned out by the Locust. The Void Rays, one will go down, a second one taking a bit more damage, but does manage to survive for the moment. Plus 1 Flyer Carapace. Is this the start of a tech switch for Stephano? Maybe. It could be. But it's all about waiting and seeing. More Swarm Hosts coming out. We've got the Templar Archives coming down. We've got the Robotics Facility as well, pumping out more Colossi. Already 7 on the field. This is a big commitment to those Colossi, and ultimately leaves puCK potentially a bit vulnerable to a lot of Mutalisks, but Stephano just doesn't have the money to support that. He's trying to retake his main base predominantly for the gas income, but just look at how passive Stephano's been this entire game. He's got 28 swarm hosts and is effectively doing nothing with them. He's just sitting them back. His creep spread could be way better, but he just knows he's so far behind that if he gets caught out of position with those swarm hosts unburrowed, they'll just get annihilated. But if he waits too long, what is he hoping to achieve? Well, he's just trying to whittle up the army. puCK did try to push in earlier, if you remember, and it didn't work just due to the number of locusts there. So this is a bit of a stalemate game for the moment. We've got some swarm hosts sitting at each of the bases, just making sure that they can't get taken down by Zealot Warpins. We've got these Spine Crawlers sitting at the third, but forward comes puCK yet again. He's got 10 Colossi now. That is just such a sick amount of damage. Going to be able to melt through these Locusts before they even get in range, getting 1 or 2 volleys off, but not enough to make it worthwhile. As we can see though, more Locusts just pushing up, but the Locusts coming in, Stephano controlling them manually, trying to split them up to minimize the damage they can do. We've got some observers there, some great feedbacks going down on a couple of those Vipers. Only 1 Viper does remain. Those abducts are not going to be good enough. There's just not enough Vipers with enough energy to abduct enough Colossi to make it worthwhile. But there's a blinding cloud being used, actually trying to negate some of the damage, but Stephano is in a huge amount of problems here. We can see that the observers giving all of the vision of those swarm hosts, and even though we have the overseer there, there's just not enough anti-air to take out the observers in time, and that's resulting in the swarm hosts getting obliterated from afar, and Stephano is probably going to have no choice but to GG out shortly. Just so many lasers. War of the Worlds is occurring in front of us, and puCK is winning him. He's knocked back the swarm host count down to just 17, which still seems pretty high, but it's very low compared to what there was earlier. And this just means that, yeah, there's so many Colossi, the Locusts just absolutely getting shredded before they can do much damage, getting a single Stalker from a wave of 17 swarm hosts. That is not enough to make it worthwhile. We can see from the lost tab that they're both losing pretty equally, but puCK's on 4 bases. Stephano is really mining off of 3, and now he's on the ropes, pushing forward, and Stephano's supply plummeting. I'm expecting to see a GG any second. puCK played this so well. Stephano, in my opinion, was just too passive, and there is the massive grats from Stephano, being good-mannered, and yeah, puCK, he played that really nicely, so congratulations to him. I hope you all enjoyed that cast. If you did, make sure you like the video, you leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe as well. I get new games up daily, so tune in tomorrow for yet another new cast. I'm Madals, thanks for watching, see you tomorrow.